Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are talking about width in your golf swing. A term that is used so often. Feel like I need more width in my backswing. Feel like I need more width in my through swing. Not so much the through swing comment, but certainly the backswing. To what gain? What are we trying to achieve by making our backswing wider or our through swing wider? I pose that question to you. Leave a comment in the box below to tell me what your agenda is for making your golf swing wider. In my terms, I would always come back to the question or pose the question, what are you trying to make wider? Are you trying to make the club head wider or are you trying to make the handle wider? If I'm trying to make the handle wider, from where I start at my address position, as I make a backswing, am I trying to push the handle further away from me? Am I trying to make the handle go higher? What is the term width in your world mean to you? Do comment, because I'll be interested to hear. Width in my world comes in two phases or two areas of attention. The handle away from the body, the head away from the body. The handle away from the body is at its widest at address. When I set myself up, the gap between my top hand and my chest is the one that I really want to modulate, control, shall we say, because that's the top of the lever point, or the lever point of the second lever. First lever is the arm, second lever is the golf club. So this principally is actually going to have the most influence on whether the golf club hits the floor or doesn't hit the floor, let's say. So when we're moving the golf club around ourselves, we need to understand that that's one width reference point. The club head is the other width reference point. I make a backswing, I'm just going to concentrate on the handle. I'm going to make the handle narrow, but I'm going to move the club head away wide. That club head is as far away from my body as it can be because I haven't got any set, but it's because that's as far away as I could get it because my arms have been pulled in. Now I'm going to push the handle width away, and now I'm going to create lots of wrist set. Now the handle is the furthest distance away it can be from me, but now the club head is as close as it can be. So I would just make sure you're aware of what you're actually trying to widen at the start. So say to yourself, what am I actually trying to make wide here? So those are the two points to make to start with. Secondly, depending on how your body moves, if your body is moving around and I move my body and I move my handle out, and I'll just concentrate on the handle to start with, that gap there is the same as this gap here. All I've done differently is I've moved myself off the golf ball and I've loaded up into my right foot more. So if you're trying to make the handle wider, the club wider, and you're moving off the golf ball, the distance the handle is away from you is exactly the same in those 2 points. You've just moved your body relative to the golf ball further away, which will make you feel like you're generating a really wide backswing. But you've made it harder for yourself because the low point has now moved into a different orientation. So handle track, in terms of how far it is away from your chest, will be one point of reference to create width in your backswing. The second point is creating width in your backswing with the club head. The more we set the golf club, the narrower our backswing is. The less we set the backswing, the wider the club head is in our backswing. So if we went searching for ultimate width, now we know that whether I move off the ball or stay on the ball in my backswing, the gap between the handle and me being the same, whether I move off of it or stay on it, the width will be the same. Understanding with no set, that will be the widest the club head can be away from me. If you're searching for width in your backswing, the ultimate would be both arms dead straight, and no wrist set. So is that something that you are really trying to search for? Because that's ultimate width right there. Both arms are straight, no wrist set at all, and now the club is as wide as possible. But that's going to hit some pretty hideous golf shots, isn't it? If we also reference the fact that width could be perceived as elevated in the arms. I hear it a lot on the TV with the pundits saying, look how wide he is, look how high he is with his hands. Well, understand that even if I lift my arms up as high as can be, the gap between the handle and my chest is still the same at this point as it is at this point. That gap is nuts and bolts the same. So understanding how high your arms are relative to the shoulder, let's say, is the same. If both arms are straight, you have the chance of creating even more width, because when we flex the right arm, it actually pulls the lever closer, but the pivot point of the arm stays exactly the same. So understand that width in a backswing is an amalgamation of how much your handle stays away from you and how little set you have in your backswing. Now, if you're trying to reduce the set in your backswing, which is you saying, I want to get my club head wider, don't use your left hand to control that and change that. Use your right hand to control and change that. Because the right arm in a backswing is the arm that actually narrows up the golf swing. The left arm, the amount of people I've heard trying to straighten their left arm in a backswing to create more width, it always fails. The right arm is always the one that succeeds if you're trying to make more width in your backswing. Using your right arm as the extender, as the pusher to make the club head set less. But again, going back to some of my other videos, if you're trying to make the handle wider, the wrist set less, you better make sure you've got good hip and torso rotation. Because if you're short in hip rotation and chest rotation, and then you start to make your golf club wider in your backswing, you, my friends, are going to be hitting it absolutely nowhere. So understand that the lever, or the levers, will take up the slack of a short backswing. Because if I'm short in rotation, I'm going to make up the rest with folding up the arms and oversetting the golf club, because that's going to make me feel like I can generate more distance. Because a short turn, an overrun with my arms, will make me feel more powerful than it would do if I had a short turn, got rid of the wrist set and made it wider. Now I've got nothing. Arguably two of my worst strikes in a demonstration ever. But you can see my point, that this width desire is the world over, but understand why you're trying to make it wide. What is it going to give you by making it wide? And understand that if you are a golfer that is narrow in your backswing, that is a symptom. I would search the symptom of, or I would search out the ingredient that's caused you to be pulled in with your arms, overset with the golf club. Because I would almost guarantee you that you're not using your feet properly, opening up your pelvis enough to make your chest move, to make it feel like you don't have to over flex your arms, overset your golf club. So width, be cautious, people. Don't go out there chasing it just for the sake of it. Understand the mechanics of how the width works. It'll either help you or hinder you. Hopefully that's been insightful. If you've got any thoughts or comments on this, do feel free to drop them in the comments box below, because I'm always going to get back to you and I will always answer your questions. That, my friends, I think you agree, is good coaching. Be safe out there, and I look forward to seeing you next time.